So what I want to talk to you today about is what we're doing at NASA with mass collaboration. And it's really what Thea was talking about with random hacks of kindness. I want to talk to you about what that looks like at NASA and why we are doing what we're doing, and maybe convince you that there's actually a role for governments to play in changing the world. Because I think even our discussion this morning, we heard a lot about skepticism of the role of governments and nonprofits, for that matter, in changing the world. And it's probably because they've failed so badly in the past that sometimes we turn to business as the only solution. And so I've worked in government 12 years at NASA, and I see it as a huge platform to change the world. There's a lot of potential in government. And what's really even more exciting is that the challenges that we're trying to solve are bigger than NASA could ever do by themselves. They require cooperation with nonprofits, with companies, with citizens around the world who are passionate about making a difference. And so this is what Random Hacks of Kindness is all about. And so I call this presentation Pivot, because I think we need to pivot on the way we think about how we collaborate in government and the role of government. So my name is Nick Skytland, as was mentioned, and I lead our Open Innovation Program at NASA. So what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of an idea of what we do within the Open Innovation Program, so you understand that context. And I want to talk to you about some specific examples of mass collaborations that we are planning today. Before I do that, two quotes. One is this: Theodore Roosevelt, "The government is us, we are the government, you and I." And that's something when I was doing my MBA and I was doing my education that I guess I didn't get the message, because I always thought about the government as being the government. It's this other thing that takes care of all of us and solves big challenges, but it's hard for me to be part of it. And it's really a coincidence that I ended up at NASA in the first place. It's really an anomaly. I mean, the fact that you guys are all more talented than I am. I'm lucky to be there. And so I started to think, well, why did I get the opportunity to work at NASA and other people, maybe you guys are interested, haven't had that opportunity? And so a lot of what we do is thinking about how to engage people that are talented, that are passionate, that are excited about what NASA's doing in NASA's mission, because there's no reason not to. And I firmly believe that our future depends on innovators who can bring together diverse talents and perspectives to imagine and implement new solutions and ventures. And this is what we do within NASA. So I work in the Open Innovation Program, and we kind of look at our mission as accelerating breakthroughs at NASA by helping other innovators, people who have great ideas at the agency, identify, explore, and apply the emerging opportunities at the edge of business and technology in order to solve our toughest challenges. And so we really focus a lot of our time on articulating those challenges, because oftentimes we don't know what our own challenges are. We have our mission, but we don't see our mission in the context of the global environment. So we also really try to tap into a global community of expertise, and we kind of explore this intersection of open government and digital strategy and technology development and hackathons and what this all means to us. And so we see ourselves as kind of a catalyst for innovation, and we use open government, which is all about accountability and transparency and participation and collaboration in government, and really changing the way government operates. We see openness as kind of a catalyst to the way we work. Because if you think about it, up until recently, there was only a few ways to participate in government. Can you guys name them? You could vote. How else could you participate in government? Be elected. Lobby, right? Protest is one of my favorites. One other way that I can think of. Can anyone think of, huh? Well, you can. Yeah. Corruption's always a good one. You could work for government. I don't know if you guys ever considered that. So that's what I did. I was like, well, I want to be involved in what NASA's doing. So why don't protesting, not going to get me too far. I'll probably just get kicked out. Voting, that doesn't really help me within, other than a politician. I don't really want to be an elected official. But being a rocket scientist kind of sounds fun. So why don't I go work for NASA? So when I got there, I realized that there's a lot of assumptions about the way we do business in government. And we kind of set out to challenge those traditional orthodoxies, challenge those beliefs about how government has to function. Because in America, government is a democracy. That's how it started. And a true democracy includes participation by citizens, but for some reason, somewhere along the lines, government became closed and far from participatory. And we started to say, well, why did it become that? Why are we so different than what we were trying to accomplish in the first place? And so we're really just trying to get back to becoming a more democratic government. And the exciting part of the fact that we live today is that we have technology that enables us to actually participate in government in new ways that we could never have dreamed of just 10 years ago. And so I firmly believe that what we need to focus our collective attention on is our toughest challenges. This is why I flew here from the United States and spent 21.5 hours on the plane and countless hours on layovers for this 15-minute talk. Seriously though, I firmly believe that from what I've been told, this is a room full of leaders, future leaders, leaders today. You guys are gonna have huge impacts on your communities and wherever your companies that you work for. I firmly believe that you should not waste your talent, that you should use your time in your companies to make an impact and to scale your influence. And there's ways to do that that don't require you to just chase after money or the highest salary, which I think is, I went through an MBA program and 95% of my classmates, in my opinion, kind of sold out, and they went for the easy salary to make a lot of money because they had to meet their basic needs of having a Porsche. I think we have a responsibility as leaders to really think differently about our role in society. And we heard a lot about that this morning. We saw some amazing presentations this morning about people who are thinking beyond themselves. They're trying to solve the tough challenges. And so the toughest challenges, the ones that I want you to focus on, are the ones that I'm focusing on, are the ones that require the collective attention of us all, because no organization can do them alone, no matter how big you are. NASA can't do them alone. The World Bank can't take them on. Governments themselves, no matter how big they are, can't solve the world problems of hunger and poverty and the water crisis that we have and the electricity crisis. And we're going to go on a tour this afternoon, and we're probably going to see a pretty diverse world. And we see it all the time. And our responsibility is not to ignore that. So we do that at NASA by partnering with other people who are interested in doing this as well. And so we partner with people like Secumuse to unleash human creativity. We try to figure out ways to build platforms to scale participation in government to help accomplish and solve the big challenges. And so my goal simply at NASA is to inspire, incentivize, and equip communities of people who want to make a difference in the world. So we talk a lot about mass collaboration, and someone was saying, well, what is mass collaboration? Well, what it isn't is competition. And I think that there's a lot of focus right now on competitions. And there's this argument that we're all really competitive, and really, if we're going to really incentivize people to change the world, we need to throw out $50,000 or 100,000 euros and offer a prize to develop a technology. And I think that's interesting, but it breeds a solution that I would argue is subpar to a solution that could be developed if we were all thinking about it. It leaves people, if you're in a competition and you're the winner, you're really excited because you just won 100,000 euros. But if you're in second place, you're not too excited. You kind of feel like you failed or your time was useless. But if it's a collaboration, we take the best of all of our talents, and we put them together and we develop a solution that matters. That's why I believe collaboration is where the future is, especially in government. And mass collaboration is what it's all about. It's how do we take technology and scale our impact? So all of you have communities that you influence, and you will have more influence as you go through your career. Many of you people will be leading companies that have global reach, and it's going to be a very powerful position. So you need to decide, how are you going to use that position? What are you going to do with that position that changes the world? So I think that we, as government agencies, need to find groups of people, bring them in so we have these diverse perspectives, and then focus that collective energy on developing useful and relevant solutions to some of the world's toughest challenges. So let me give you two examples of what this might look like. The first one is called the International Space Apps Challenge. This came about because we were involved in Random Hacks of Kindness, and I think we've done 7 of them now. We've been able to see the potential of Random Hacks of Kindness. We've had events in, I think, over 400 cities. I don't know, countless solutions have been developed. But what the real value of hackathons like this is the process, is bringing people together. And we saw the value of mass collaboration through ROC, and we wanted to apply that at NASA because we got a lot of pushback in NASA saying, well, why does ROC really matter to NASA? How is it really pushing forward NASA's missions and accomplishing objectives that specifically meet NASA's goals? If you work in an oil company and you wanted to do a mass collaboration, this is the exact same question you're going to get. Well, how is this going to meet our bottom line? How is this going to help the shareholders? So that was the question we were trying to answer within NASA. And so we said, well, you know, it's a really good question, and I am convinced that this is going to work, so let me prove it to you. Let's do a hackathon solely focused on space exploration, and let's see what can happen. So we had our first event last April, and it was really amazing. We did it in 25 cities around the world. Let me go here. You can't really read this. I'm going to read it to you. But we did it in 25 cities around the world on all 7 continents, and we say in space because we had space station participating as well. Not many people can claim that. And what we did was we offered 71 challenges for people to work on. And within 48 hours, we saw 101 solutions that were developed. They were incredible solutions. One of my favorite examples of the collaboration that went on is called the Pineapple Project. And this was a project that was worked on by 7 different locations around the world. One location would work on it all day long and then go to bed and hand it over to the next location. And they would keep working on it all throughout the weekend. And by the end of the weekend, they had developed a solution that helped. Essentially, it was a recommendation engine for farmers in very remote areas of the world that didn't have access to essentially knowledge and expertise. And they had a piece of property and they were growing product on it, but they didn't know what product would be best to grow or how much to sell that product for. So this application kind of helped them. Essentially, it gave them a recommendation based on satellite imagery and a whole bunch of other resources and data on what was the best product to make. And it took off. World Bank, I think, is interested in doing something with this. It's been worked on at numerous hackathons since. They've written papers about it. It's an amazing example of what can come out of this. It's so exciting to see what people can do when just given permission to participate in your organization, in the mission of the organization. And so this is what we do at NASA with mass collaborations. And so the International Space Apps Challenge is really, really an interesting experiment in mass collaboration for NASA. And I cannot tell you how difficult it was to do this within government. Nobody liked it. Everyone tried to kill it. We had no budget. We did this with a team of 5 people. And we were able to pull it off. And as soon as we did, people were like, oh, I get it. That's what you're trying to do. And so this year, we're doing another one. Kind of because we had to, because there was so much interest in the International Space Apps Challenge. So we actually are doing this on April 20th and 21st, and it's going to happen in up to 75 cities around the world. I say up to 75 cities because we're going to do 50, and then we had too much interest, so we had to open it up to more. So it's about 3 times as large as the event last year. We're actually doing it in South Africa. I know there's probably not a lot of people from South Africa in the room, but we're doing it in Pretoria. We're also doing it, I know there's a lot of folks from the UK here. We're doing it in a number of locations in the UK. The UK is actually one of our biggest partners. The Met Office in the UK is unbelievable. If you haven't been to the Met Office in the UK, you should just leave here now and go there. It's incredible. It's one of the most innovative government agencies I've ever been to. Anyway, we're doing this in 75 locations around the world. And it's amazing because all we do is we ask, hey, someone like Thea, hey Thea, do you want to plan an event in Cape Town? She'd be like, sure, yeah, great. I have a venue and I know people. She would have much more access to organizations in our community willing to do something like this than I would ever have. And so this is how we make things like this happen. So we have 75 local leads that are willing to do this. We're still a team of 5 people. We still have no funding. We have a little bit of funding, but not much. And we're able to scale our influence and impact just by giving people permission to participate in what we're doing. So we've spent a lot of time thinking about this year's challenges. We're going to offer 50 challenges. 25 of them will come from NASA, but 25 of them will come from other organizations. Because what we realized is we developed a platform here that is unlike anything else. It allows collaboration to happen both in person at these events and also online. And so we're going to open source the platform. You guys can all go download it March 1st when we launch this website. And you can use it for your own organizations. But we realized that the platform itself and all the effort that we're putting into this is something that other organizations could use too. So we just opened up the challenges to other organizations and said, do you have something you're trying to solve as well? Then maybe you can offer that as a challenge on our platform. So some of the examples of things that we're doing is help us explain why space exploration is important. As you know, whenever you're telling people about the vision or the mission of your organization, what you came up with last year probably isn't good enough this year because people want to hear it in a new package. And so this will be a good example for us to use in the future. We can post these videos online and say, this is why NASA is important. Hitch a ride to Mars. If you want to design a CubeSat, which is actually pretty simple to do, you can go online, you can download all the hardware plans for it. We want you to design a CubeSat for us so we can go to Mars and accomplish some scientific objectives. So we have everything from submit a video to design a CubeSat. We have one called Off the Grid, which I think you'll like. Research, develop, and refine existing platforms to help humans live off the grid. Preferably, hopefully, we're looking for some new technology to come out of this weekend. Adopt a spacecraft, Voyager 1. I don't know if you guys know, Voyager's in the solar system. It's the spacecraft that's farthest away from Earth. It's outside of our solar system. It's really, really, really far away. So people forget about it. So how can we help humans reconnect with Voyager so that we don't forget about one of our nation's assets? We have a lot of organizations that are participating in this. If you represent an organization and you want to participate, we'd love to have you be part of it. We're just generally excited about this. The font's really bad on this, but you can go to spaceappschallenge.org and learn more about this. So we took this idea of Space Apps Challenge recently and we said, that's nice, it's good for NASA, but our vision's a little bit bigger than just NASA. Our vision is how do we change the world? And maybe we should start with our country in the United States, because sometimes the United States focuses so much on the rest of the world that it doesn't focus on its own problems in its own communities. So we asked ourselves, how could we change our communities and the governments that serve them at the local, the state, and the federal levels in the United States? And so we came up with National Day of Civic Hacking. It's an event that's going to take place June 1st and 2nd, 2013. And what we did was we didn't try to create a new event. We took existing events like Random Hacks of Kindness and said, hey, Rock's happening anyway. Why don't we just leverage Rock to align all of our local, state, and federal governments in these communities and the citizens and make an impact? And there were other organizations like Code for America, if you know them. They have a brigade meeting model. So we took the brigade meeting, the Rock, and we took all these things that were existing anyway and just aligned them on the same weekend. And so the goal is for citizens in their communities to come together and collaboratively create, build, and invent new solutions using publicly released data and the challenges that are offered by their governments, and to actually change their communities. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't spend a lot of time in my community. I spend a lot of time focused on everything else. And sometimes, if I just took a lot of the energy that I had and focused on solving the challenges nearby and worked with others, we'd actually make a lot of impact. We heard about Shelter in Philadelphia. That's what they did in Philadelphia. So the question is, can we do that in the rest of the world? So you can go to Hack for Change and learn more about this. We've actually announced that this event's going to happen in 26 states and about 47 cities, and our goal is to have it in all 50 states when we're done. And we have applications from about 100 cities total. We anticipate maybe 150 when it's all said and done. So these are both two really exciting mass collaborations. So final slide, this is your invitation to get involved. I really want to invite you to use your influence and your impact and think about how you can scale that through technology to change the world. Take on the challenges that other people are scared to take on. Be willing to develop a technology to go in and change the way entrepreneurs, change the way business is done in a certain part of the world or at your company. There's so much to be worked on. It's more of a matter of how do we work together to solve some of these challenges that all of us face together. So with that, I appreciate the time, and I'll hand it over because I think our next speaker has arrived. Thank you.